Welcome to the show. I'm Mark Montgomery, and just for the record, you can hear me on radio in the morning on Money 105.5 FM, which is an FM station from 7 to 9 Monday through Friday, and on 1380 KTKZ AM from 8 to 10 every Saturday morning. So, what a week with the announcement of Ryan as Romney's VP choice. I think personally it's an incredibly good choice. I like Ryan. I've always liked Ryan. The nice thing about Ryan is that he has no trouble saying what he believes because he really believes it. He has the core instincts of his belief. So when he's asked a question, he is asked to explain something. He doesn't have to really think about what he's going to say. He can just say it. The other nice thing about Paul Ryan is that he is a whiz when it comes to the budget. He understands the numbers. He understands what needs to be done. If you give him some numbers and say, if we cut here, can we do this? He's right on it. He fully understands it. I think he is a tremendous asset to the Romney campaign, and I would encourage anyone to vote the ticket, folks. I think it's a great choice. I think Romney is a good man. I think Romney can do the job, but with Ryan there with him and able to talk over these various issues, especially budgetary, because we're in deep you-know-what here in the United States. And, of course, we're in deep you-know-what right here in California, and there are big reasons for it. You know, coming up to do the show, I come up from Sacramento to the Jackson area, once a week, and it gives me an opportunity to listen to what's going on the radio once in a while, because I rarely have time, and to just kind of collect my thoughts before I come up to the show. Something that was said by Obama a little bit earlier today, and it's amazing to me that his approval ratings are as high as they are when you really listen to what the man is saying. And what he is saying is, I'm a socialist, I believe in socialism, and matter of fact, maybe a little bit to the Marxist side, maybe quite to that side. I think that when he comes out with a saying such as, are you looking back on the old ways of doing things in the United States? Because I'm giving a new vision for America. Now, he won the first time because people were saying, yes, we want a new vision, and the thinking being, well, we don't want another big financial bubble. We don't want all of a sudden to have our economy go over a cliff. So yes, we're open to a new vision. The thing is, he never explained what that vision was. Never. Ever did he explain what that vision is. Because if he did, you would have run the other way. The vast majority would have. Well, he's trying the same old ploy because he is saying, we have a new vision. You should be behind me and looking to a new America, a new vision for America. Again, what he should be saying is that you should be behind me for a socialist America. That's what he should be saying. But of course, he can't really say that, but I can, because that's exactly what he is saying. All you have to do is just to understand the man just slightly. He believes in sharing prosperity. It's not a matter of, sharing opportunity. In other words, this is a land of opportunity, equal opportunity. We all have equal opportunity in this country. And if you don't believe it, then I don't know where you've been all these years. Because opportunity is a word that's kind of interesting, because opportunity in the United States means work, hard work, sacrifice, commitment. The neat thing about it is you can follow whatever desire you have. Now, you can work 10 hours a week, or you could work 80 hours a week if you wanted. The choice is yours. And that's the other nice thing. We have a freedom of choice in this country to pursue whatever opportunity that we want. Now, we can live in a cave somewhere, or We can work towards a nice home, or whatever it is we want to work towards. We could, maybe it's going to be a mobile home, an RV, or we want to travel the world, whatever it may be, whatever your goals are, whatever your desire is, you have a right to pursue it. That's not what Obama believes. He believes you should share in everyone else's success. If they are successful through their 80 hours a week, even though that you just maybe say, well, I work 10 hours a week, or maybe I sat home on welfare, I should still share in that man's hard work. That's where I differ. I don't believe in that. I believe in the fact that if you don't work for your food, you should go hungry. That is my own belief, because we have a question in this country on a pretty consistent basis of where are the farm workers? And there's so many people that say, well, they're here. I mean, all we have to do is take college students and put them out on the farm, et cetera, et cetera. No, that's not the answer, because that's not, you're just looking at part-time work. Where are the real farm workers? They're sitting on welfare. They're sitting in many cases on Social Security disability or even regular disability right now. They don't have to work. Their stomachs are full. So why should they go pick peaches? That's what is going on in this country. And we are now sharing with people that, well, they have 60-inch flat screen TVs, LCD TVs. They've got a couple of cars in the driveway. They've got their iPads, and et cetera, et cetera. And you and I are paying for it. That is Obama's share the wealth America. I don't believe in that. That's not the vision I have for America. All I want is give me the opportunity to grow my own wealth. Period. So when he says a new vision for America, what he is saying is that out with the old, which is pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Nope, the government will pull you up by your bootstraps. We'll give you any help that you need. You don't even have to work. Hey, here's your food stamps. Here's your welfare. And hey, if you want to work, matter of fact, the latest is, of course, taking the work requirement out of welfare. That was hard fought in the mid-90s. Let's take it out. Now, why is this happening? It's because the more people that are on the government dole that also realize that, hey, I don't have to work, I'm comfortable, I'm happy, I have my TV, I have my car, I can stay home with the dog or the kids, whatever it may be, I don't have to work. I'd better vote Democratic if I want to keep this. I want to vote for the Democrat. I'd better vote for Obama if I still want those food stamps. So that's not the America, that's not the vision I have, but that is the vision of Obama. That's the new vision, that 50-60% of this country doesn't even have to work. They share in the hard work of others and vote Democrat. That's the goal. So how do we change this? Well, it's at the ballot booth, or the ballot, and in the voting booth. That's where we change it. That's coming up in November, and so I just encourage you to look through all the fluff, look through all the rhetoric that you're going to see and hear during the upcoming campaign, and I'll tell you right now, it is going to get nasty. Ignore it. Think about the vision you have for America. Where do you want to go with this? And vote accordingly. Do you want socialism or do you want capitalism? Totally two different things. So it's up to you. It's your choice. So what's going on in California? We're going to talk about this in the next segment, but we have to make bold moves in California. California is on the brink of tyranny, as far as I'm concerned. We are on the brink of seeing something that probably this country has never seen, right here in California. We are going to have to make our voices heard here in the state of California. We have not been vigilant, and many have, but many haven't. And of course, we have the university system and the college system here in California, which is turning out heads of mush that are just so So, well, you can just form their opinions and their attitudes. And of course, young people are, for all practical purposes, pretty well, a little radical in their thinking, a little more progressive in their thinking, until they have kids and have a family, or they're starting up a business, and then all of a sudden they start becoming a little more sensible. But we have huge problems here in California. Dishonest, deceitful lawmakers are running this state, and you voted for them. Many of you did. I shouldn't make a blanket statement like that, but we have problems in this state because people keep voting for the same lawmakers that speak that and actually talk a good game on that we are going to create a business-friendly environment. Businesses are going to want to expand. They want to come to California, and we're forming this, it's going to be utopia here in California. What they're not telling you is behind the scenes, they are eliminating transparency. And we're going to talk about that when we come back, from the break. But this is Pickpocket Perez, Daryl Spinberg, and good old Jerry Brown. They are trying to pull the wool over your eyes and consolidate their power in this one-party state. So, folks, we've got to wake up here in California. We've got to take bold steps. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. And, of course, you're listening to Mark Montgomery.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
Welcome back, folks. I'm Mark Montgomery. And, just prior to the break, we were talking about government, being corrupt here in California. And we have huge problems here in California. The Democrats consolidating their one-party power here in California. And it's just so interesting that it brings at this point, and I'm just going to throw it out there because I've thought about it for some time, and that is when government is corrupt, and you have basically almost all various parts of the government, that you would think would be checks and balances, and all of it's corrupt, or in our case here, let's just take the case of Obama basically dictating, and this is what puzzles me, literally dictating, taking a law that was passed by Congress and saying, sorry, we're not applying that anymore, such as welfare. Welfare with work requirement. Well, fine, we'll give welfare, but we're going to take the work requirement out. Or the separation, let's go back to even telling the various churches, sorry, I know this is your religion. I know that you don't go along with this, but too bad, we dictate this. We are heading down an incredibly dangerous path. Now, the reason I bring this up, and frankly I wasn't even planning on bringing it up, but I've actually wondered this for some time. And that is, we supposedly have checks and balances in this country. In other words, you have the power struggle between the various parts of government, the different houses, divisions. And how does it work, frankly, when you have a president, such as we have right now, that in a way, and I hate to almost use this word, but in some ways is a dictator. He is dictating law, changing perhaps how you live your life, my life. He picks what laws he wants to enforce, what laws he doesn't want to enforce. Another one would be immigration, changing the law and how it is, how it's enforced. And so I sit here and I'm going, what if he came and forward and made a decision saying, well, which frankly he's kind of doing, but we're going to do away with our Air Force. What would happen if by the stroke of a pen he says we are going to cut the size of our Navy by half, our Air Force by half, and tell you what, I know Congress hasn't ratified our treaty with Russia that we are going to cut our nuclear arsenal in half. Tell you what, I'm just going to cut it in half. The point that I'm trying to make, at what point does he become an all-powerful dictator? What is the enforcement mechanism here? It's impeachment potentially, But my worry is no one has the guts to bring that kind of an action. And so what do? Live with a dictator for 4 years? What if down the line he says something to this effect that, well, we are in a situation with Iran now, we shouldn't have an election today, so I tell you what, we're going to postpone the election for another 4 years. What would happen? That's a viable question, folks. What would happen? How would we go about and enforce an election when you have a president, one part of the government, saying that we are not going to have an election this year? How long would it take to resolve the problem? So, of course, this country would be thrown into turmoil. But what worries me, I believe that we currently have a government in power that will go to any length to hold on to power, and that's what worries me. We're already hearing rumors of forced buildup, naval, underwater assets, etc., in the Persian Gulf. My personal thinking is that, as Obama's done in everything else, it will ultimately be 100% a political decision when, to determine what action we're going to take. And I think that if he's behind in the polls, or if he is just flat out worried that he is not going to carry the election, I think we may find ourselves attacking Iran, or some action to instigate a conflict. It truly does worry me. An interesting concept came up at the radio station here the other day also, and that is, and I've actually talked to my sons about this, both being in law enforcement, is it possible somewhere in the future, based on the polarization that we are seeing in this country, and what frankly we see here in California with this grab for power by the current Democratic administration that we have here in California, is there the possibility of future revolution, here in this country? I hate to talk about it, but I think it's very real. If we were to continue down this path, let's say Obama had another 4 years and started literally consolidating power into the executive branch, and we had other branches such as Congress and the Supreme Court that were not taking action, and then all of a sudden we have a dictator giving orders to the military. He is the commander-in-chief. We have major constitutional crises on our hands. How is this going to be resolved? And of course we have constant attacks on our Second Amendment rights to bear arms. And another point to be made is that this was never about protection, home protection, protection of my family, the Second Amendment. What it was really about was the right for the people to rise up and overthrow a tyrannical government. Because our founders understood that they could not build in enough checks and balances to offset the ambitions of man, ambitions of politicians. And we then would have the right to rise up and take our country back. That is the reason for the Second Amendment. So, for what that's worth, I think ground zero in many instances has been and is right here in California, and that's the reason my focus has been on California. Even though I'll discuss national issues and worldwide issues, international, the focus is right here in California. Now, why that focus? California ranks number 9 in the world economically. In other words, if it were a country, it would be number 9 in the world economically. It would rank 9th as a country. Now, with that said, we used to be number 6, so we're going down the wrong path. How do we turn that around? The answer is in, of course, bold actions, people being vigilant, understanding what is going on in this state. Do we understand, as a population, what is truly taking place in this state? And I believe, no, we don't. The masses here in California do not understand what is taking place. And matter of fact, when I started this radio program, when I first got involved, I thought things were bad. But over the last number of years, when I'm just literally reading and diving into things daily, it is much worse than I ever thought. And matter of fact, in the last number of months, it has become worse. We are seeing transparency here in California. We are seeing a government in Sacramento, in what I call the belly of the smelt in Sacramento, that is literally erasing sunlight, pulling a shade over Sacramento, over legislation, over what we call these trailer bills. It's like a donut. They will create a bill, leaving a hole in it, and they're going to fill it with whatever legislation they want to throw in there. And if the government signs it, because there's no opposition, folks, and if the government signs the bill that these Democrats, and quite honestly, maybe a few Republicans have joined, we are going to be in a world of hurt right here in California. We, of course, already are, but it's only going to get worse. And cap and trade is one of these items that we should be pushing back on. And this, frankly, is what this rally tomorrow on the 15th, Wednesday the 15th, on the Capitol steps is all about, is cap and trade and pushing back. So I hope you can attend, and that is 11 to 1 tomorrow on the Capitol steps. I'll be a speaker. There'll be a number of speakers, and we're going to be talking about what is going on in Sacramento. Now, before we get to that, and I know we're going to be coming up on another section, I want to talk about Mayor Johnson in Sacramento, Mayor Kevin Johnson, and why I'm talking about this. And many up here in this area may not be interested, but this is somewhat symbolic of what's going on here in California in cities and counties and at the state level. This is totally ignoring what is right and manipulating voters and just manipulating the ballot process. I believe that this was done on purpose, even though he just kind of apologized for it. I believe it was done intentionally. And this gets right back to the ideology of the progressive left, and that is the end always justifies the means. And in this case, I think it's pretty sleazy, folks. I think it frankly is sleazy on what Mayor Johnson did, and I think it's important that you see what is going on in the political scene. It's not like it used to be. Frankly, it's becoming totally corrupt. And when someone can flat out lie on what they're going to do, and with that lie potentially change the outcome of an election, I think that person, frankly, should be impeached. I think this gets right back to, again, what the progressive liberal left believes. By any means, they will attain their goals, and they will flat out lie to you. And that's where I have a problem. It's not a matter of fudging the facts. It's a matter of just flat out lying to you. So we'll be right back. I'm Mark Montgomery, and you're listening to The Mark Montgomery Show.
The Mark Montgomery Show.
Welcome back, folks. We're talking about Mayor Johnson of Sacramento, and there's a reason I'm bringing this up, because it comes right back to the level of dishonesty in politics today. It's just reached a whole new level. And of course, why has it reached a whole new level? It's because they will become as dishonest as you allow them to become. It's as simple as that. And of course, it probably comes down to what is the meaning of honest. And I would imagine that there's different levels of honesty. And so a person could, I guess, argue the fact, well, am I honest? Am I supposed to be honest in this way, or am I supposed to be honest in this way? Am I supposed to be honest to myself, or am I in my cause, or am I supposed to be honest to you, the voter, or whatever it may be? I can see the games that they probably play within their own mind to legitimize their decision. Well, this I found fascinating, folks, because when it first happened, I talked about this on my radio show because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Back on about the latter part of July, Mayor Johnson was, well, first off, the city council was trying to put a tax initiative on the ballot. They want to raise sales tax in Sacramento by 0.5%. Now, I happened to be talking about this at the time because I thought, well, if a city's in trouble, then, and they don't want to declare bankruptcy, I guess the answer to prosperity and pulling themselves out of a bankruptcy situation and supposedly bring more revenues and expand their tax base is, well, we'll just up taxes. If more taxes were the answer to prosperity, then why didn't Stockton do this? Why didn't Mammoth do this? Why are other cities not increasing taxes? The reason was because they have, and it hasn't worked. Matter of fact, revenues continue down. Matter of fact, there's new numbers out for the state, and the first. Here we are a month into our new budget, basically, starting July 1, and we're something like already $500 million in the red. That revenues, the anticipated revenues, that's how it is $500 million below what they anticipated 1 month into this new budget. Now, they're making some excuses. Oh, it's because the numbers were manipulated a certain way. No. This is all deceit. And we need to change this and truly understand what's going on. Well, speaking of taxes, this is where Mayor Johnson is getting himself into a little hot water, and he's trying to, I think, get out of it in the wrong way. And here's how it all started. Back at the end of July, Mayor Johnson asked to pin opposing argument against tax hike in Sacramento. In other words, he said he's against taxes. He said this when the council was trying to pass this and put it on the ballot. Mayor Johnson came out and said, I'm against new tax rates, new tax increases, don't want it, I'm opposed, it'll hurt small businesses in Sacramento. Now, I asked at the time, for a person that is pro-crash tax, which he was and still is as far as I understand. Now, they eventually took that off the books, and they don't have a crash tax in Sacramento, but he was all for it and pushed it. Why would this same person now be opposed to a sales tax increase of 0.5%? Because it's all about bringing revenues into the city. Why would he do this? But he did. It goes on. It says, how much does Mayor Kevin Johnson dislike the idea of a sales tax hike in the city? He's volunteered to write the opposition argument against the proposal. Johnson told his city council colleagues Tuesday night, this is a while back, into July, he was totally comfortable in being the author for the opposition argument on the sales tax measure. Now, he volunteered to do it. Would you expect it to be done? So you have a supporting and an opposing opinion on the sales tax increase on the ballot. You would expect it would be done, right? Mayor Kevin Johnson is a professional. He says, I'm anti-tax, and I will write the opposing opinion to this initiative. All right. Fast forward. August 9th. Mayor Johnson fails to write argument against tax measure. How can you not write something that you committed to do? If you truly believe in your core value that you are opposed to something, you should be able to sit down and pin that relatively quickly, I would think. It says, after volunteering to write the ballot argument opposing a sales tax measure on the November ballot, Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson failed to get the language for that argument filed on time. We don't even know if he wrote it or not yet. That means city voters will only see a supporting argument in sample ballots sent to their homes this fall. So in other words, the only thing that's going to be on the sample ballot is the support for the tax increase. No opposition, because Mayor Kevin Johnson just didn't get it done. So what is the story here? We're talking that potentially they are saying that this tax initiative could, if passed, could raise, $28 million a year in Sacramento. Won't happen, folks. Because if you're going to buy a car, would you prefer just to go outside the city of Sacramento and purchase that car and save that 0.5%? I think you would. Now, if Jerry Brown gets his tax initiative passed, that's a whole percent in the city of Sacramento. So why, if Kevin Johnson is against this tax increase, why didn't he write the opposition to it? My theory is he's really for it and always has been. I don't believe his core value, being a progressive liberal, which he is. Now, I like some of the things that Kevin Johnson stands for, but I think he's also, at heart, a progressive liberal. All you have to do is look at the people he surrounds himself with, and you look at his beliefs. You look at the King's Arena, the entertainment center. It's all about big government, big ideas. We got to take the money from somebody, city assets, etc., taxpayers' money, and create, I don't know, a utopian idea. Has he created a commission to look at how we can expand small businesses and become more business friendly to expand our tax base based on entrepreneurship and the expansion of business within the city? No. It's all about getting money out of existing business and existing people that do business in Sacramento. That's what it's all about. So now, what is Mayor Kevin Johnson doing? Well, Mayor Kevin Johnson might sue the city clerk over ballot argument flap. What argument? He missed his deadline. He has all kinds of aides around him. I believe this was intentional. I also then believe that he's been really knocked upside the head with not getting this opinion written. So now he needs another excuse, which is pretty typical of progressive liberals. The blame has to be shifted somewhere. He said, well, his aides screwed up. And now he wants to sue the city clerk. So it says Mayor Kevin Johnson is thinking about suing the woman who sits next to him at every city council meeting. Johnson's political spokesman, Steve Maviglio, which is just, here again, loves unions. Matter of fact, he is a spokesman for unions, told me today that a lawsuit against city clerk Shirley Consolino is being explored to try and force the mayor's opposition argument to a sales tax measure onto ballot literature. Couldn't have done it on time. Now they want to file a lawsuit to force it onto the literature. Says it's not clear what recourse the mayor has, given that the deadline was in writing and other groups were able to get their arguments filed in time. Why couldn't the mayor? They did what they were supposed to do by deadlines. Mayor didn't. Says the mayor's aides missed the deadline. Notice mayor's aides missed the deadline. Now wait a minute, who's supposed to write this? Who's to make sure? Who volunteered to do it? It wasn't his aides, it was the mayor. But nope, what does he say? The mayor's aides missed the deadline last week to get an opposing argument to the clerk. No. Mayor Kevin Johnson missed it, and I actually believe his real core values just wouldn't allow him to get it done. So here we are. Now we're looking at a potential lawsuit. So my question is, will the city clerk cave and say, well, you're the mayor, we'll give you another few days and get it on the ballot? Here again, it is deceit in government. It is the power play, and then all of a sudden they get caught. And this was huge. Maybe some of you don't think it's huge, but it is. And again, this gets right back to the end always justifies the means for progressive liberals. Now, there are other things going on in California which are far bigger than the city of Sacramento's problems with Mayor Kevin Johnson. And this gets right back to what I've talked about a couple of times just briefly here on this particular show, and that is cap and trade. And this all comes off of AB 32, carbon credits. Refineries, everyone that generates a carbon footprint is going to have to pay to the state, in essence, the right to emit carbon. $19 a ton, they say it's going to start off at. Now, my question, and we're going to talk about this when we come back, what's going on with this? Where's this money going? And who determines the price? Does speculators kind of scare you a little bit. Everyone talks about the speculators in the oil industry driving up prices. What about carbon credits? And if they drive up prices, guess who's going to be paying for it? Actually, we're going to be paying for it anyway. That's you and me and everyone in the state of California are going to pay much higher prices at the grocery store, at the gas pump, for shipping something, FedEx or UPS or whatever it may be. Everything in this state is going to jump in price because of the carb tax. Where's it going? You're going to be surprised. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. I'm Mark Montgomery.
The Mark Montgomery Show.
Welcome back, folks. I'm Mark Montgomery, and transparency in California is what we're going to be talking about because, frankly, you and I, society in California, our whole lifestyle, I believe, here in the state of California is at risk now based on being a one-party state that we voted for. Now, I say we, very lightly here, of course, in this area. It normally is going to, if I were in the coastal area, I would really be blaming the voters because basically they are the ones that have created this monster that we now have in Sacramento. And I'm talking about trailer bills, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but what they've done is they have literally kind of reconstructed how they do business in Sacramento. They create a bill that is just kind of fluff. It's not going to go anywhere. They know it's not going to go anywhere. But it's sitting there, not going anywhere, and there's a hole in it. In that little hole, they will stuff legislation that they really want to get passed, and it just then will sail through. They will sign the bill when it's all ready and set it on Jerry Brown's desk. Now, if you know who Jerry Brown is and what he's all about, what his core beliefs are, then much of this is going to get passed. Once in a while, he will veto something or not sign something because it doesn't really have to be done. It doesn't really, he'll toss a carrot once in a while. Say, see, I vetoed that. And all the time, while that's being vetoed, there's 10 others he's signing off on over here that are going to impact your life and, of course, in most cases, direct more money into, the Democrat Party is what it boils down to. We were talking about cap and trade in the previous segment. And that's what this is coming down to, is cap and trade. Matter of fact, workers' comp even figures into this. But we're going to talk about cap and trade here for a moment. This is a big, big deal, folks. It says, and this is Senate Bill SB 1018, 1018, another of the so-called trailer bills, was not only written in secrecy, and this is Dan Walters out of the Bee. I love it on what he's writing. And matter of fact, he goes on to even call what's going on and calling Jerry Brown basically a tin-pot dictator because of what's happening here. This is incredible stuff because not only was this written in secrecy, it enhances secrecy in a new state program, this says. Now, interestingly enough, and this gets back to the sleight of hand, the lying, the deceit that's going on at the state level with Pickpocket Perez and Darrell Spinberg, and believe me, they will say this is not happening. They will literally look you in the eye and say this is all about more transparency. Matter of fact, I was talking about Darrell Spinberg on another situation this morning, and it actually goes on to say it was because he was apologizing for pulling the cable on broadcasting a hearing on airing the pros and cons of some various propositions. It was supposed to be aired. He literally has the plug pulled on cable television at the Capitol. And then he comes back and says, geez, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Well, the damage has already been done. Yet he says in this article, or actually who's written the article, Darrell Spinberg has always stood for transparency. The two don't mix. I mean, you either for it or you're not. And it's obvious he's not. He pulled the plug. And here it goes again. Senate Bill SB 1018 another so-called trailer bills was not written in secret, but enhances secrecy was not only, pardon me, let me go back here, not only written in secrecy, but it enhances secrecy in a new state program. So what is this new state program? One of its provisions authorizes the linkage, and I'm going to take this slow, folks, because this gets back to just how they're playing the game here. Authorizes the linkage of California's huge new anti-greenhouse gas emissions program to a newly formed private corporation. Now, this all has to do with cap and trade, the sale of carbon credits, folks. They've created a new private corporation, newly formed private corporation, and declares that it should be done transparently. So they form this corporation, a new corporation. These carbon credits are going to flow through this new corporation, and it's all got to be transparent. This is what Darrell Spinberg is basically saying. It's got to be transparent. We've got to be up front with the voters here in California. Here's the but. Goes on to say, but a few paragraphs later, SB 1018 says this: Sections 111.20 through 111.32 do not apply to the Western Climate Initiative, also known as AB 32, or to the appointees when performing their duties under this section. So, what is Section 111.20 through 111.32? What are these sections? Government Code Sections 111.20 through 111.32 comprise the long-standing body of law known as the Bagley-Keene Act. It declares that public agencies exist to aid in the conduct of the people's business, and the proceedings of public agencies should be conducted openly so that the public may remain informed, and mandates how state agency proceedings are to be transparent. So these sections, 111.20 and through 111.32, the whole meaning of these sections is transparency. That the public has a right to know, a right to view. The sunshine shines on anything you're doing that falls under these sections. We as the public have a right to know. Yet, they are saying that these sections do not apply to the Western Climate Initiative Incorporated. This newly formed corporation does not fall under the Bagley-Keene Act, sections 111.20 through 111.32. The guts of transparency is being yanked out, meaning no transparency. So it goes on. As Dan says, this is no small matter. The California Air Resources Board, CARB, Mary Nichols, and the governments of two Canadian provinces, Quebec and British Columbia, formed the private corporation in Delaware last year to help them manage the cap and trade of carbon emission credits. Untold billions of dollars in fees will be levied on businesses, thus raising consumer costs for utilities, gasoline, and other goods and services. The proceeds will be spent on whatever politicians favor in the name of fighting global warming, perhaps including a bullet train system. It says with the Bagley-Keene exemption, the WCII Inc. basically can do in secrecy anything its directors, all political appointees, want to do. So what are they doing? They are literally creating potentially a multi-billion-dollar slush fund. They can put it towards bullet train, anything they deem to be, well, good for the climate, falling under renewable energy. That could be buses, social program, whatever they deem to be, I guess, climate friendly, they can use the money for whatever purpose, and you don't have to know about it or where that money went. You have no right to know about it because they literally neutered the law. That's what they did. It says, among other things, according to its articles of incorporation, it can enter into, make, perform, and carry out contracts for any corporate purpose without limitation as to amount with any person, firm, association, corporation, or body politic. WCI Inc. and SB 1018 in combo close the doors on the inner workings of a historically massive transfer of wealth, one that will affect the pocketbooks of millions of Californians. Folks, this is a monumental power grab right here in California in the belly of the smelt by legislators that you have elected. So what are we going to do about it? That's what the rally tomorrow is all about, folks. You know, I've been talking for some time. Where are the rallies? Why aren't people marching in the streets? Well, people that are involved in this rally tomorrow have been asking the same question. This is a multi-billion-dollar power grab, folks. That's what this is all about. This is all about a Democratic Party, a one-party state here in the state of California, grabbing as much power as they can. And what is power to politicians? Money. And believe me, this can be huge. Other parties, anyone else, won't stand a chance against the public unions, government unions, and having the Bagley-Keene Act exempted, torn out now, for this new corporation being exempted, handling carb credits, billions of dollars, just hands that money to whatever the political party in power wants to do with it. And you can retain, and of course this enables them to retain their power. And the main part of this is you don't have a right to see it. It is totally in the dark. So I tell you, this is a huge, huge problem, folks. You got to stand up. You got to take action. You've got to call your representatives and fight this. And this is just the beginning. That loaf of bread, that gas, that everything you do, the cost of a home is going to go up dramatically right here in the state of California. Folks, you've been listening to Mark Montgomery. Have a great weekend. I'm signing out.
The Mark Montgomery Show.